Welcome into another edition of the Alabama Football Report. My name is Chris Daughtry. Appreciate you guys joining us on today's show. We're talking recruiting here again for the Crimson Tide. Make sure you guys are subscribed, though, right here to the Alabama Football Report so you don't miss any Alabama football recruiting news, some of these spring practice updates. We're talking about a couple of things today, some guys visiting on campus today. Alabama also gaining some traction and some ground on a 2026 defensive lineman, and a couple of more Alabama targets just earned their 5th star from the 247 Sports Ranking. So we're going to talk about all that on today's show. Trying to get to 24,000 subscribers here. That is our next goal. 439 away, so we got, some time to grow there, but I want to get at least 15, 20 subs on this video right here. So do not miss out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button for me right now. All right, two guys that I want to start on today, both visiting campus today for Alabama. Mark Bowman, we talked about him a little bit yesterday. He is a 5-star tight end. Both of these guys, I think it's very notable, both of them reclassified to this 2026 recruiting class from the 2027 recruiting class. Boobie Feaster as well. We've talked about him before. He's a phenomenal talent. I think what's one thing that's very notable about Boobie Feaster is when he reclassified, he was originally a 5-star in the 2027 class at that wide receiver spot. Reclassified to the 2026 class, pretty much stayed a 5-star there. He was still like a top 3, top 4 wide receiver in this class, but as this process has kind of gone on now, these guys go to camps and everything like that, and these recruiting rankings are very fluid. They change seemingly almost every single day, it seems like. But, he is still one of the better wide receivers and players overall in this 2026 recruiting cycle now. This is going to be his first trip to Tuscaloosa. Showed up on campus last night. He's going to be there until Saturday, I believe, is the plan there for him. And he does plan on making his decision for his commitment after his official visits, but before his senior season. So by the time high school football rolls around, we will know where Ethan Boobie Feaster wants to play his college football career at. And he's also looking into getting an official visit on campus as well for Alabama. Some of the visits that he's got scheduled so far right now, Alabama, LSU, Texas, Oregon, all in the springtime there. And then you also have some of those official visits. Alabama not scheduled so far for an official visit for him, but like I said, does plan on getting back on campus sometime in that June time frame. I would assume that's going to be an official visit. That's normally when those official visits take place there. So Boobie Feaster, Mark Bowman, both those guys on campus today. We'll see what happens there. Would love for an official visit to get set up for Boobie Feaster by the time he leaves campus tomorrow. So let me know here in the comments section of today's video, will Boobie Feaster commit to the Crimson Tide? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section of today's video. Type Y for yes or N for no at the pinned comment of today's video. That ad's going to come here on YouTube. That is totally fine. You guys can take advantage of it. Get down there and let me know what you guys think. All right, the next player we're going to talk about today, Elijah Golden. This is another defensive lineman. We know that Alabama wants to go after defensive linemen in this 2026 recruiting class. I think Andrew Bone has mentioned they want anywhere from 3 to 5. They've got one right now in this class. We'll touch on him in just a second here. But Elijah Golden, definitely one of these top players that Alabama wants. Miami, Florida, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Ohio State, South Carolina, all in the running as well there for him. Chad Simmons of On3 also said that Alabama has been making a very strong push led by defensive line coach Freddie Roach. Some of those official visits for him. He's going to be back in town in Tuscaloosa on June 13th, but he also does plan to get on campus a couple more times in the coming months. Alabama's got another junior day scheduled here on March 22nd that he plans on being on campus for. And then he also plans on being on campus on April 4th as well. So, like I said, Alabama's definitely still going after a lot of defensive linemen in this class. I think the depth is something that a lot of people have worried about here, in the last year or so, especially with some of those guys hitting the transfer portal. But Elijah Golden, definitely a name to keep an eye on. Would love to get him in this 2026 class. And we'll just continue to reiterate this every couple of recruiting shows, what Alabama has in this 2026 class so far. You got Zion Gibson, top 50 player, number 4 cornerback in this class. And then Chris Booker and JaBarrius Matthews also committed last month, I believe it was, sometime early last month. Those guys committed a day apart from each other. So, Chris Booker, when he originally committed, I think he was like the number 27 interior offensive lineman. So he's gone up a little bit in the rankings. And, you see some of those Auburn fans online, right? They're like, oh, this guy was, not even ranked before he committed to Alabama. But the thing is, they just don't know how these recruiting services work. You go to camps, you move up, you move down the rankings. You pick up some of these big-time offers from Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, whoever it may be, Florida State, Georgia, whatever, and you start moving up the rankings. There's so many guys out of high school, like these recruiting services can't keep track of everybody. So that's how, they're able to, a lot of times, discover guys is because they get some of those offers from some of those big schools, and then they start going to those camps and everything like that. Alabama's also got JaBarrius Matthews, a very fun player. They've got him as an edge. We'll see if he plays inside or outside. Kind of think he fills that bandit role pretty solid for Alabama, but we're not even into that June time frame yet. That's when last season a lot of those recruits started committing to Alabama, and you saw this run of like 15 recruits in a month or something like that, or commitments in a month. It was pretty ridiculous last summer and really got kicked off by Keelan Russell committing to Alabama. So we'll see what happens once those official visits really start to, take place for Alabama. But slow and steady right now. I think as the summertime goes along, Alabama's really going to hit the ground running. Before we continue on here in just a second, want to make sure you guys are familiar with our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get up to 50% off right now just by going to chatsports.com/CFB hoodies. You guys can get some Alabama hoodies, quarter zips, crew necks, everything in between. If you guys need Alabama football gear, all you got to do, go over to chatsports.com/CFB hoodies, and you guys can get some pretty solid deals over there for some Alabama football gear. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. Should also be a little clickable link right over there in the corner. And if I forget to do it for some reason, because I've done that before, like I said, that's going to be in the comments and the description of today's show. Just go over to chatsports.com/CFB hoodies. All right, so Alabama right now, 2 more targets. JaBarrius Garror, he is committed in this 2027 recruiting class for Alabama. And then you got E.J. Crowell, one of the best, players overall now in this 2026 class. He was originally in that 2027 class. He ended up reclassifying just a couple of months ago, and he was one of those other stories as well. When he reclassified, he dropped down from a 5-star to a 4-star, but is now climbing his way back up into that 5-star status. Got his 5th star the other day per the 247 Sports Composite Rankings there. He's planning on being back in Tuscaloosa on March 25th. Chad Simmons, according to him of On3, said the Crimson Tide is in a very strong player in this race. He's number 4 player out of the state of Alabama as well. Alabama really needs to make a charge in this 2026 class for some of those in-state recruits. Some of the recruiting sites out there have said that, last year's class wasn't as good talent-wise, and even some of those good players you did still miss out on. But this is definitely a class that Alabama, or a recruiting cycle that Alabama really needs to, get some of those in-state guys, and E.J. Crowell, definitely one of those top players in this class. Got a couple official visits set up here already for the summertime. Going to be going to Georgia May 30th, Texas on June 6th, Auburn on June 13th, Florida State on June 15th, and then Alabama on June 20th. And as of right now, anyways, with recruiting, things can change and guys can change their mind and things like that. But he wants to take this slow. He wants to take all of his official visits, go through his senior season and everything like that, and really just get a feel for everything. And, this really does seem like a kid who wants to feel wanted, and I think you hear that a lot of the times, but, sometimes guys, end up making that decision a little bit too quickly, and, maybe they decommit or flip or something like that. I don't see that really happening with EJ Crowell. I think he's going to go through the process, kind of take the long approach to it. And I think once he really decides where he wants to be, he's going to end up making his commitment there. But like I said, one of the top players in this 2026 recruiting cycle, number 2 running back in this class, would love to get him in this class as well. Now, we've asked this question before, and almost every single time, we talk about EJ Crowell, there's a lot of hype in the comment section for him, and notably so there. So I want you guys to get down here in the comment section of today's video. Who is your favorite recruit in this 2026 recruiting class? There's a lot of options out there. I know you guys are very excited as well about this 2026 class. I see it in the comment section all the time. So let me know what you guys think here in the comment section of today's show. JaBarrius Garror as well. We just touched on him a second ago, but this is definitely a kid that has, he started off pretty high when he committed to Alabama a few months ago. Earns his 5th star here per the 247 Sports rankings there. Number 19 overall. Another in-state recruit out of Mobile. He is in that 2027 class, so there's a long way to go before, it's time for him to actually put pen to paper there. Whether or not he's going to go to Alabama or not, we'll see. He's committed right now. But still, Kane Womack, Freddie Roach, these guys, love getting those edge rushers, getting those linebackers, whether or not they're off ball or just kind of that outside linebacker wolf type guy. JaBarrius Garror, he's a phenomenal athlete. Love watching his highlights. Can't wait to see, how his, junior and senior seasons progress as well. This is definitely a kid to keep an eye on in the future.